All right guys, welcome back to the Lake of the Woods and More fishing report. Let's not waste any time. Let's start this report off by going out to Upper Red Lake out in Washkish, Minnesota to West Wind Resort. Talked to the guys at West Wind over the past week. Been a little bit rough out there. About an inch and a half of rain early in the week, some high winds, really got that lake stirred up. Now they said when you get a couple calm days in a row, that really helps out fishing. And on the days when the wind has been down a little bit, guys have been getting out and catching limits of walleyes. They're using gold jigs and minnows, either fatheads or spot tail shiners. West Wind has both in the bait shop. The weather this weekend out there is looking to be in the 60s. Winds look to be 10 to 15. If you're wanting to get out on Upper Red Lake, West Wind Resort has bait and tackle, bar and grill, boat rentals, pontoon rentals, camping, basically everything you need. You want to get out to Upper Red Lake, get in touch with West Wind Resort. Remember, if you've been out fishing, you got some photos you want to send in to put on the fishing report, email me at after5outdoors@gmail.com. This picture was sent in to a viewer from Illinois, Mark, with a monster largemouth bass. Appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for sending in that photo. We've got a couple other viewer photos coming in, but they'll be on the Devil's Lake portion. All right, moving into North Dakota, talked to Mike Peluso's Outdoors. He has just left the Missouri River, headed to Devil's Lake. He says, surprisingly, the Missouri River bite held on a lot longer this year. Typically, that bite ends in about late May, but he said with the extended cooler periods and all the rain, he anticipates that bite's going to stay strong into mid to maybe even late June. Now, talking Devil's Lake, Mike is out there guiding now. He says a lot of new water out there. Water levels are up. He says these higher water levels are pushing a lot of these fish into the northern stretches of the lake. He says some key things on Devil's Lake right now is you want to look for stained, not dirty water. Your best avenue of attack for walleyes, go up shallow. Cast some slip bobbers and leeches or some shallow running crankbaits. He also says with these excessive windy periods that we have, a lot of the lake isn't fishable. So when you're looking up in these shallow bays, a lot of times they're going to be semi-wind protected. So the best place to start looking right now. Mike's guiding out on Devil's Lake until the 20th of June when he's going to head to Sakakawea. And speaking of Sakakawea, Mike says the bite's starting to pick up out there as well. Your best area to start looking for walleyes right now is west of the Newtown Bridge. Some of those middle sections and eastern sections of the lake are really good as well. Mike will be guiding out on Sakakawea in about the middle of July. If you're looking to get out on Devil's Lake or a little bit later trip out on Lake Sakakawea, get in touch with Mike Peluso's Outdoors. All right, staying on Devil's Lake, Bry's Guide Service, Ed's Bar and Bait. Weather has been very challenging the past week, Mark says. What they're looking at is 5 to 15 feet of water, casting jigs and plastics, slip bobbers and leeches is also working. If you get in a little bit of stained water, or Mark says a little bit of water with some tint, bottom bouncers and spinners slow trolled, and that's still in that 5 to 15 feet of water are also working. Mark says in addition, basically the biggest key, you get on some fish and all of a sudden you start not catching anymore, you need to move, you need to stay on top of them. He said that's one of the biggest things out there is trying to stay on top of the fish. Now Mark says if you're fishing off of shore, you're going to want to look close to the areas of bridges. That's been pretty good. That evening bite is probably your prime time. Here's a couple of viewer photos of some nice walleyes caught offshore. Appreciate you sending those photos in. Mark says as the summer goes on, that bite window does increase. You can catch walleyes during the day out there off of shore as well. If you're looking for a guide, get in touch with Bry's Guide Service. If you're looking for propane, fuel, bait, tackle, off sale, snacks, and all the rest, check out Ed's Bar and Bait out on Devil's Lake. Heading out east in Minnesota over to Tower in Lake Vermilion, talked to Daryl from Everett Bay Lodge. Had a bit of a tough start to this week, some bad weather out there, some power outages, and a pretty good dumping of rain. He said the lake levels had went down about 6 inches and now they're back up that 6 inches. So the water is still high out on Vermilion. He says as far as fishing goes, it's actually been pretty good out there. A good number of walleyes being caught, bass, pike. He says guys are typically right now still using minnows, but he says the crawler bite is starting to pick up a little bit. Water temps are on the rise. The smallmouth bass are starting to move up. He says I don't think they're quite thinking about bedding just yet, but it shouldn't be too long and those bass will start making their beds. Weather out on Vermilion this weekend, not going to be super warm, going to be around 60 degrees each day. Friday, you're going to have about a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind, and then it looks like 5 to 10 for the rest of the weekend. So a little bit on the cooler side, but you knock the breeze down, it should still be pretty nice. If you want to get out on Lake Vermilion, make sure you get in touch with Everett Bay Lodge. Moving up to Lake of the Woods, looked on the website for the Lake of the Woods control board. Now the water has risen about 4 inches from our past report, and they are anticipating that's going to rise another 6 to 8 inches in the next 7 days. Now after that, they didn't really put a guesstimate out there because it's unknown of the precipitation that we're going to get, but it's extremely high flow right now. The public access in Warroad sounds like a lot of guys are using chest waders to launch their boats there. Did hear that the public access near the casino was much better, a lot easier to get the boat in the water, so that's just something you may want to check out if you're just heading up to Warroad to go out on Lake of the Woods. I talked to Aaron from True North Guide Service over the past week. He says primarily at the beginning of the week he was doing a lot of jigging and a 50% mix of shiners versus fatheads. He said there really wasn't any different success with minnow types, but he says jigging had slowed down. He moved to pulling spinners and his success dramatically increased. He was using minnows, spinners and minnows. He says the best color, Fire Tiger by far, was the best, followed by gold and red, and then also just white. He said those were the best colors that they experienced over the past week. Picking up a lot more saugers right now, but still catching some decent walleyes as well. Aaron says if you're heading out on Lake of the Woods on your own, really keep your eyes peeled for floating debris with this high water. There is a lot of debris floating around. He experienced water temps from 48 to 56 degrees. All right, so Aaron is booked up until the middle of August, but if you're wanting to get out in late August, September, October, maybe even if the weather stays nice into November, you're looking for a guide on Lake of the Woods, get in touch with Aaron from True North Guide Service. All right, heading over to the east side of Lake of the Woods, talk to Marshall from Lake Road Lodge. He says fishing is still good up out of Baudette. They moved out a little bit deeper. They're 18 to 24 feet of water right now. Gold jigs are the best. He says he's tried a couple other baits over the past week, but minnows, the shiners, still seem to be the best. He also tried pulling some spinners a little bit, but said jigging is over on that side is still the way to go. Still seeing a lot of milting males. So that's an indicator to him that fishing should remain strong for the next couple weeks. And as the consensus has been with the rest of the guys, they said that the high water levels this spring really hasn't affected fishing at all. Marshall says there remains a good bite on the Rainy River, but you gotta find a spot to get out of that current. So there's been some really nice fish caught up on the Rainy and some pretty good numbers too. They've got one room open for this weekend. They've got a little bit of availability midweek through June here, and they've got some openings in July still. If you're wanting to get up on Lake of the Woods out of Baudette, you want to charter, you're just looking for a motel, clean, comfortable rooms, they're close to Wheeler's Point access, get in touch with Marshall from Lake Road Lodge. And headed up to the northwest angle, talked to Richard this week from Youngs Bay Resort. They're battling some high water issues up there. If you're heading up there, make sure you bring your water boots. But minus the headache of the high water coming in, the fishing has been basically lights out. Had a couple of friends that were up there over the weekend. They caught some really, really nice walleyes. 10 to 20 feet of water. They were vertical jigging. Casting out some jigs and plastics worked well, but they've caught some dandy walleyes up there. Richard said some of the guys he's talked to, they've been catching some fish a little bit deeper too, deeper off in the mud, near and around structure. Fishing has been firing on all cylinders up on the north end right now. If you want to head up to the northwest angle, contact Youngs Bay Resort. All right, looking at the weather forecast for the weekend up on Lake of the Woods, looks like it's going to be in the 60s. Winds so far 10 to 15 and possibly 20 miles an hour. So going to be a little bit breezy up there. I know we said a lot about high water, but if you can get out there, it sounds like it's going to be worth it. If you want to use any of the guides or resorts that are listed in this fishing report, all of their information is linked in the description. I hope this report helps you out. We put one out every Thursday. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you can get out and enjoy God's great outdoors. See you on the next one.